Hey, what's up, everybody? Blue Collar Millionaires. We're here with a great guest, Mike Hochstetler, friend of mine. He's in a couple masterminds with me, and he's a blue collar guy through and through. He's built a business from scratch, and he's doing really well with it. He's also got a trucking business and a new division of his business, and he's going to come on and kind of talk to us about how he grew it, where it's going, and things that he sees in the future. What's going on, Mike? How are you?
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to share. Love what you guys are doing here on this Facebook group. Love this page, and you guys are adding real value. So it's just pretty awesome to see the community thriving like this. So,
Well, yeah, it's going great, and it's because of guys like you, and we're all doing the same type of thing. What is your core business, and kind of walk us through that?
sure. Yeah, core business, utility contracting, and been doing that since 2011. Have a vegetation management division that has tree trimming and removal services exclusively for power line clearing. And then we have let's see, March of 2020, we launched an underground company, and we're doing directional drilling, trenching for fiber optic, high speed internet, and actually install power lines as well for the power companies. So that's my core business, utility contracting.
So you're cutting down all the trees on all the power lines, all the wires we see hanging over. You get contracts with municipalities and stuff.
Yes, yes. So we're clearing, trimming back limbs that are interfering with the power lines, and if the trees are too close to the power line, or if they're dead, in danger of causing a power outage, then we would remove them. So
How often do those contracts come up? When you get them, how long do you keep them for?
they're at least a 1 year, 12-month contract, but they're up to 3 years depending on the type of contract and the client request. So it's very predictable work. I started out doing residential tree care, and it was pretty seasonal because it gets super cold here in Indiana.
Yeah.
And I figured out, this is a great opportunity and a great way to build a better team, have long-term contracts that give me more predictability, and help me provide better benefits for my team. So by the time we were 3.5 years in, we had transitioned to exclusively doing contract commercial projects.
So you found when you were doing just the houses and it was seasonal, you'd have guys and then you'd have to kind of let them go or slow them down, and then you'd
Slow them
move them.
down, slow them
Yeah,
down. Yep.
and it's hard to. I know the same thing from my business. When you do that, it's hard to keep people on and keep them motivated, keep the hours up, keep them with benefits. So that's a big reason I wanted to go down south, keep more work as well. So yeah, that's a key thing to it. Um, what are you doing with the fiber optics, and what made you kind of pivot and do a lot of that work as well? Because you were telling me, you're doing kind of big numbers on that now.
Yeah. So there's a push nationwide to get high-speed internet into rural America. So the Midwest is, the classic rural America spot, and there's tons of money pouring into that area. The utilities are being subsidized by the government to get high-speed internet to everybody, no matter how rural they are. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people in Indiana that still have, you know, dial-up internet that runs through the phone line. So
Yeah.
so I just saw a tremendous opportunity with a lot of existing clients, and yeah, we're working for a lot of the same clients that we are on the vegetation side, but doing a completely different business model. And saw an opportunity. I knew that there'd be a massive movement for at least 5 years, probably a little bit more, and didn't try to figure it all out. I partnered with a guy that had the knowledge, had the expertise, had a passion for that. Empowered him to build out that part of the company real fast based on all the stuff that I learned the hard way. So,
Yeah.
implementing
So
systems,
important.
processes, and building out a leadership team pretty early on, even though we were just launching. And that's really been the foundation needed to really launch.
So you brought somebody in with that background, and then brought him in, and would you make him an employer? Did you cut him in on some type of a piece of
Yeah,
those
we offered him
profits?
equity in the company.
Smart.
I'm a firm believer that people do great things when they have skin in the game.
I
So
agree. We
yeah,
probably all made this mistake. Sometimes you think you can figure it out all in your own, or like, yeah, I'll build this new division, and it goes way slower that way. Get to the person who knows how to do it, empower them to do it, and that's why it's going so fast. Because when Mike and I were just talking about numbers, I was kind of shocked, like how fast it was growing. But it makes sense, like you have the the skill set and the knowledge that you've already done this with Tree, and now you're bringing in a specialist who can kind of run that, and it's not clogging down your time. Really, really smart. Hey, somebody asked, how do you get the municipality contracts?
um, networking, and once you get into a certain niche or industry, um, your reputation is all you got, right? So a lot of these municipalities, the people that are running operations in towns and for the electric co-ops, they all talk, right? So if you're doing a good job for one entity or one party, they'll tell their buddies, good or bad, right? So take care of people, take care of people, and always do the right thing, even when it doesn't make sense, and it pays off. So
I agree. Those are huge contracts you're going in, and mine for what I'm doing are smaller, but they all talk. And sometimes people get a bid package. They want to come in really low. They think that's the way they're going to get it. And they just
mhm.
shoot themselves in the foot. First of all, they can't really do a good job at that price. And then they burn their name really quick. I've seen guys do it. They go get 4 or 5 contracts. They can barely fulfill them. They're not making any money. And their name doesn't spread. Meanwhile, some guy who kind of took it steady, did good jobs, put his name out there, explained why, hey, I have to charge this. This is the only way it's going to work. This is what we can do. All of a sudden, they got 20 contracts.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
completely different. Because these people, it's not all about price. It's their job too. They don't, this is serious stuff, cutting down limbs around wires.
Yeah.
They don't want to manage some company that did it for 16% less. They really don't.
So,
Right.
Mike, when you started in the tree trimming business, and then you partnered with someone to start doing the underground utilities. Is that what I heard correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, how did you purchase? Because that equipment's expensive. Not on the undergrounds. Let's just talk about the tree trimming at this point. I mean, you've got lifts. I've seen dedicated machinery with a saw on the end of an arm, all the way to a helicopter dragging this blade just running down the line. So, what was what? How did you get past that obstacle of capital for your equipment?
So I've been in business for a decade, and so I have a great relationship with my bank. Always paid my bills, and yeah, when we went to launch, we just used the reputation that we had and the track record of paying, and we had capital to put down initially, and because we did have a good relationship, we got a little bit of a break on that. So yeah, we used the original, the company that originally started with as a springboard to
Mhm.
purchase and fund the second company. So
Was that an
Well, when you were
SBA loan? What was? How did y'all finance that on the second company?
yeah, we just took out term loans on the equipment.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
What about on the first company, when you bought your first vehicle and your first lift? It cost a lot of money. How are you financing that stuff? Just
So um, the way I got started originally was I closed my dad on giving me a personal loan, and on a uh, on a 3-year payback plan. And
Mhm.
then I partnered with my uncle when I originally started, and he owners financed some of it as well. And so that's how I got started. I was broke as a joke, man. When I started in 2011, I was broke, broke as all get out. And thank God people believed in me and took a chance on me. And
Yeah. That's a really, tell us about, like, so you were working for your uncle, what, in like 2010?
Yeah, I
And
had worked for him
you were doing tree
for
work?
about 3 years. Yeah.
And then what made you go on your own, and kind of how did that look from like 2011? You're broke as a joke. You're just like, hey, I'm going to go do this. And then when did it really like start? You were like, okay, I'm making some money now.
Yeah, you got to go all in. So if you're going to do the entrepreneur thing, you don't want to be on the fence. You have to go all in. And I had some people that believed in me, like I said earlier, and I just really doubled down. I worked a lot of hours the first 5 years. I worked way too much, but it was probably really about 3 years in when I figured out, like, okay, I'm making some real money, and I'm going to make it, right. I'm going to survive this. So at that point, I had repaid all the people that believed in me about 3 years in, and really focused on. You get to a certain point where you've built your belief system and you know you're going to make it, but then it's like, I'm working too much. I'm a slave to my company. How do I break this, right? And
Yeah, lose that.
how do I build a team where my life is not controlled by my team and my work? And so that's a whole new learning process, and didn't want to figure that out, right? I had done it the hard way for many years, and so I hired a business coach, to help me implement systems for everything. Man, that changes your life.
Yeah.
There's so many people, I admire entrepreneurs, grinders out there, and you do have to work hard, but there's so many people that get stuck in the grind and never get up. And you're living a life when you're doing that. You keep telling yourself, I'm doing this to build for me and myself and my family. I'm building a dream, and the dream turns into a nightmare. You're overworked. You're working 70, 80 hours a week. You're stressed out. You're never there for your family, and you gotta hire people that can teach you how to get away from that. It's a real thing. You're not naturally going to do that as an entrepreneur. We were created to solve problems and take care of business. And it's natural for us to not delegate, right? We want to just do everything, control it, and that's a glorified job. That's not a real business. So,
It's true. You just own a job then. You see that we're three perfect examples of this. Like, we all started off the same things. We were grinders. We're getting out there. We're getting dirty. And people want to think like, oh yeah, it took like 3 months and I was rich. It doesn't work. It's years of thing. That's why that saying of you think you can do a lot in a year, but what you can do over 5 years is massive. But people totally overestimate what they're going to do in a year. You got to be okay with putting your head down for 3 years and really getting into it. And of course, if you learn from people like us, coaches, you'll do it even faster. But then we all decided, hey, okay, we're making money. This works, but like, it's too much work, and this isn't like the life I want. So then we start thinking about getting coaches, getting in masterminds, looking for new information. Mentors was my thing. And then all of a sudden, it's crazy. You work way less, but you make much more money. And then all of a sudden you just see it like, wow, this could be millions of dollars. And then we all just start taking that money and buying real estate. It's like this, we're doing the same stuff. And that's what a lot of young guys or just people starting, it doesn't matter if you're young or not, they can do that same thing. If they put their heads down for a few years and then they learn over like 5 years, you can have massive growth.
For sure.
You could have stayed with your uncle, right? And just been
For
a
sure.
grinder, or you could have just been out there with two helpers grinding all day. And the byproduct of that is your relationships, how much time you spend with your kids. It's not the same. You have to learn this stuff.
Mike, tell me what you're coaching, because I went through 3 coaches as well. I just had a thicker head than you, evidently. So, but what was that experience like? Like, tell me what some of those sessions felt like, so people that's never had a coach can understand what is beneficial from a coach and why they need one to get them to the next level.
So you went through 3 coaches, Chris? Here's a pro tip. When the pain's great enough, you're willing to change.
No doubt.
No, so we hired an EOS coach. I'm sure I know Kevin's familiar with that
Yeah.
with that
Maybe you
system.
want to tell them what EOS is.
Yeah,
real
it's
quick.
EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a system that was created by Gino Wickman, and he's got a
Book is
couple
called
hundred
Traction.
traction. Yeah, he's got a couple hundred certified implementers throughout the country, and what EOS's core focus is they help business owners get what they want. So that's their only goal. Whether it's to get your hours down to 40 hours a week, you can do that. Whether it's to work 3 days a week, eventually be totally gone from your company actively, you can do that as well. So, bingo.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the difference between major corporations and entrepreneurs is major corporations have written processes in place for everything, every function of the business, and we're entrepreneurs, right? We're crazy, we're wild, we're visionary, we move fast. It's not natural for us to build systems. So when you hire someone to help you implement that and do that and actually build a legitimate leadership team, have a CEO, have a CFO, have an operations manager, have a head, sales director, everything changes. So that's what EOS does for you, and it's a multi-year process. You have to be all in. You have to be committed through the pain, and probably the biggest hurdle for most entrepreneurs is not wanting to let go of the vine, right? Not wanting to let go of day-to-day things that they have always taken care of. That's been one of my biggest struggles. I've always been pretty good at like trusting people to do their job, and then I leave that. I don't try to micromanage. I leave them do what they want, what they need to do, and as long as we're within the metrics at our weekly meeting, I'm not breathing down your neck. But there's some stuff that I've been doing from the sales position that I've always done. I've been doing this for every week for 11 years, and it's really really hard. It's really really hard to let go of the vine. So
Yeah, I get it, man. That was my issue. It was so hard for me to actually implement what these coaches were telling me. And you're not the first person I've heard that's come in with the EOS system and hired an implementer. And matter of fact, everybody that has gone through that program has said the best thing to do is hire the implementer because it just shaves time off in getting you into that routine. And they said it's not 30 days in and boom, you're just going to see it. It takes a minute to get used to those meetings, getting that leadership set up right. And I think that's what it boils down to more than anything on having a smooth running company. If you don't have the strong leadership, then it's going to stay in shambles. It doesn't matter how big or how small you are. But if you can get strong leadership that's able to hold everybody else accountable and have that organizational chart, that hierarchy, then everything else seems to start falling in place.
it truly does. When you get out of working in the business and get to working on the business full time, that's like what Kevin said. That's when you start making real money, because you're not tied down in day-to-day tasks and you have massive clarity on big issues, right? You have massive clarity on, hey, what's going on in operations? Why is this metric always lagging? Sales side, you have time to think about real issues and really drive the vision for what you truly want your company to be known for, your core values, your mission, your what you want to be known for, right? So everybody's busy, right? Look around. I mean, everybody's busy, but what are you busy doing? And that has changed my life for sure.
I love that.
Yeah. Mikey, one time a couple years ago, or I don't know, you sent me a message. We had met in Tim Brotz's thing, and I didn't know Chris at the same time because he's going through the same thing. But we both had kind of new babies, and we were blue collar guys and had nice businesses, and we were trying to buy apartment buildings and do this stuff. And you say, hey, you're kind of going through the exact same thing I am. We kind of like talked, and we're like going through this journey together. But that's really, Mike has done incredible with that this year, if you want to talk about that. But we don't talk about that a lot in here, and we're going to kind of talk about that, but like you have to get your money into other investments, into passive things. So when I used to clean the gutters, I was literally on the roof and I would be in these apartment buildings, and I would just be doing the work, and my mind would be like, I'm going to own one of these one day. Like, that's how I would start thinking.
Absolutely.
And then it's like crazy when it's like, you're going to actually do this. You start looking at them. And then for us, what we do is we partner with people like ourselves, operators and stuff, and we take that cash from that blue collar thing. And Mike has done incredible. All of us have done it. And Mike, tell us about like kind of how many units you bought this year and what you're doing.
Sure. So it goes back to, staying hungry and always wanting to level up. And like you said, Kevin, we want to invest our money into other things, other opportunities besides our core business. And for me, real estate is passive, truly passive, right? I do have a great team. The team runs everything day to day in my company, but we still show up every day, right? We're here for our team. We drive vision, we drive culture, we lead people. And ultimately, we're all entrepreneurs because we want freedom. We want the freedom to do whatever we want to do on a day to day. And I just see more freedom in my future by having more passive income. So, yeah, really the last 2 years, I've been focusing on really getting traction on real estate. And I'll share my first deal I ever bought. I found this. I've been part of Tim Brotz's mastermind. He's the one that really gave me a vision for generational wealth, and I love that. I just love the idea of being able to do the hard work now and invest in quality properties now, and your kids can you can hand that down to your kids. So I found this deal on Facebook, and it wasn't advertised through the broker. It was direct to owner. And I found the deal on Facebook. I ran the numbers. I'm like, it looks pretty good. This is a good deal. It was 15 unit property, and I submitted an LOI, and the guy says, "Yeah, looks great. Sounds great." And I'm like, "Crap!
Back and forth.
What do I do now? I've never bought a commercial. I had some commercial buildings, right, that I rented out, but I'd never bought an apartment building, and so I didn't know anything about due diligence other than the checklists. I'd never been in an apartment building, and I called Jennings, and I said, Jennings, I got an accepted LOI on a 15 unit property. And he's like, "Great job, bro. That's awesome." And he's like, I'm like, "There's an issue." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "What do I do next?"
So he went in on it with you, right?
He did, yeah. He's like, "I'll help you, but you got to give me some equity." So,
But just to recap how that happened. So you got in Tim Brotz. He's going to be on our show in a couple weeks. He owns 4,000 apartment units, so he kind of knows what he's doing. And
yeah.
He was the guy that also did the same thing for me. Like, got me thinking, like, oh yeah, I don't want to own just an 18 unit. Like, I want to own hundreds of units and pass these on, and it's game changer. And then Jennings learned from Tim, and then Jennings has units. So Jennings is in our mastermind also. So the point of that is, you meet these guys because we're networking, because we're in these groups, because we're investing in ourselves. And then he can make a phone call to somebody like Jennings Smith and tell him that. Like, if the same thing, I can do that now, and we can all do that. But if you look back 5 years ago, there was nobody I could call.
No.
I didn't even, everything was always on myself. You have to find people who are better and more experienced in whatever you're doing. If it's in business, if it's accounting, whatever that unique thing is, you have to get in contact with them, become friends with them, network, and then bring win-win situations. He's not doing it because he's your buddy. He says, "Hey, give me some equity, and I'm going to take you through this path."
Yeah.
And that's why that deal got done, because the truth is, it probably doesn't get done otherwise. I know I didn't get deals done.
You're exactly right. It's the power of relationships. I mean, he connected me with, he owns some properties in Indiana. And so he connected me with a banker that lived 20 miles from my house that I'd never heard of. And he's the best banker that you could possibly work with in apartment buildings. Again, it's the power of networking. So So yeah, we bought that deal. It's been a great deal. Didn't need very much renovations or anything like that. It's been fully rented ever since we've had it, and yeah, it really helped me grow the confidence to keep moving on that. And that was in February of 21. I bought that deal, and then I didn't buy another deal that year. And finally, in September, I was very frustrated, and I started thought auditing. Why am I not closing more deals? Why am I not moving the needle on my goal? Right, and it was because I was trying to run my company and work on deals when I had time. So I took a big leap of faith, and I hired an acquisitions guy to help me. Paid him a base salary, so there's a weekly cost. A lot of skin in the game, and then offered him long-term equity in the portfolio if we hit these numbers. In 3 years, and he's just crushed it. He's absolutely crushed it. And he started working for me the last week of September, and we didn't close another deal in 21, but this year we've closed 86 units so far.
Wow.
And then we partner with JD Crowell. You guys both know him as well. He's made a phenomenal impact on my life, and he had a pretty nice sized portfolio in Indiana. And so, again, I'm trying to collapse time, right? Take time out of the equation. He had a lot of experience working with banks and underwriting. I was really good at the boots on the ground, managing the construction, managing the subcontractors for the renovations that we needed. And we just clicked. So we've closed on 86 units together, and then we got another 238 in the pipeline to close in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You did the same formula you did with the fiber optics. You said, hey, I want to get here, and then who do I have to get around? But the one thing some people miss on there is you invested your own money to bring this guy on to help you get this acquisition. That's the best return on your investment, not just investing in yourself to get in networking mastermind groups. It's also to invest in your business where you're making money, because that could have failed. But you said, hey, I'm going to hire this guy. I'm going to give him this job, and I'm going to sell this vision with him so he can get equity. And then that's the truth. That's the reason you're getting these 300 type units. Otherwise, it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And he did a phenomenal job building relationships with brokers. And, a couple of these deals were never even on the market. We had just got done closing another deal. They know we're closing. And he has the time to follow up with them every single day, shoot them texts, shoot them emails. And Steven has just crushed it. He really has. And, partnering with me, he's going to accomplish so much more than he could have accomplished on his own. He had the same goal, right? He was trying to build passive income through real estate. So I think that's one of the things I truly, truly love about real estate the most is everybody can win, right? It's so massive. Yeah. Everyone can truly win. It doesn't matter if it's your partners, if it's your investors. You provide a quality very high quality product. Even the tenants win. And
it really is true.
If you're a roofer or a plumber, everyone in your town is your competition. And the collaboration is not the same. Real estate people I found just amazing. I can buy a 200 unit building in Atlanta, Kevin, right? And it doesn't affect anything that Kevin's buying. It's just so massive that everybody can win at a high level. And I love that. I think that the sky's the limit.
That's so true that everybody can win in real estate. Like when I was doing these, getting into buying apartment buildings, somebody close to me said, well, why would they want to do that with you? Why don't they just keep it themselves? Why do they need you? Like, they don't, how many apartment buildings there are? Like they're not competing with me. We're trying to form a team to take down more. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're just a plumber, you're not going to you don't need to partner with that guy because you're both trying to get that same house. It's the economies of scale. When it's hundreds of units, there's so much money for all the principals involved, all the investors to make money. There's just enough money. You have to think big.
So I think, Mike, you hit something super important, and Kevin was just talking about it. We're so limited in thinking of, well, why don't I just do it myself? You've already told why we get with partners. It's to shave time off. And you've been a great example to show that that is a great model to go by. Do you mind disclosing, because I think it's important to get that mentality and understanding of what that looks like. Do you mind disclosing what your percentage of ownership is, kind of average in these apartments?
Sure. My average ownership percentage is just under 40% as a GP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've given over half so
Well,
that you could get in to this game.
yes. So yeah, my partner JD and I both own between 35 and 40%, and then the rest is we give out to our investors. Yep.
So y'all did syndicate them.
Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's massive. I think that's what everybody that's watching this needs to understand is even if you're taking less than half of the project, the fact that you're in it and now your numbers are looking at being over 300 in unit count is just insane in a matter of 2 years.
Really, we've only been working on it for a year in
Yeah.
September. But yeah, it goes. You got to ask yourself the question. Like we talked about earlier, when you start out, you're the grinder, right? You're head of sales, you're head of operations, you're your own mechanic. You might even change your own oil. You do everything, right? And you're extremely busy. And then you grow a little bit, you scale a little bit, and you start delegating things. And so it's same with real estate. I could have won the loan. I might have bought 130 or 40 unit building per year, or maybe twice a year or two.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd have a couple $1 million in holdings, or I can partner with somebody like JD, and we can raise money together. We can underwrite together, and I can own 40% of 20 million. Our holdings will be just a little bit over 20 million year one together. So
That's awesome, man.
You do the numbers. You want to go alone and have a couple million, or you want to partner up and have 7 or 8. That's the question you got to ask yourself. And then the other side of that is our time on earth is so limited, right? It's so short, and you have to figure out how to collapse your time. And when you partner with people that are experts in certain areas that you're not, you're collapsing time. That's really the key.
Wow, that's good one.
That's a bomb.
Yeah, it's like, do you want an entire grape or do you want a piece of a watermelon? I mean, 40% of 100 units is 40 units. Or go get an 18 unit by yourself and you can be out there on the weekend. I didn't want to do that. That's what I was thinking 6 years ago. I'm like, I was looking at ones in Atlanta. They were kind of like a little over 100,000 a unit. And I was like, I remember looking at one for 2 million or 2.1. I'm like, I have to put down 550 myself and I'll do this. And then when I started listening to Tim, I was like, yeah, I think I'd rather partner up on 100 unit, because they also make more money because you can get management and you can have somebody on site. You can't do that on an 18 unit. You can't.
Yeah, the management fees go down on the bigger units, but piggybacking off of what you said, I learned that stuff the hard way, Kevin, when I started cutting trees. If there was a storm, you needed to get power restored. So it didn't matter if it was midnight or if it was Father's Day or whatever it was. I was out there cutting, right? And I'll never do that again. I won't put myself in a position to trade time for money. And so I don't want to get the call that the toilet's plugged on the same unit for the 3rd time that month, right? I don't want to go do that. I don't want to go change out a blowing up water heater. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just not the season of life that I want to be in anymore. So partnering with other people allows you to buy bigger deals, and then you can hire professional management. So
yeah.
That's powerful stuff, dude. I love the fact that you took the journey from startup. And so what was that timeline again, from starting your own tree business to now over here close to 20 million in apartments owned and a very successful business still running. What does that timeline look like?
A decade.
Decade, 10 years,
Yeah.
man.
Season of your life. That's
Scheme
all
of
I-
life, that's so short.
It is.
That
really
goes
is.
by so quick. But I think the thing is, as you said, you stayed consistent. You just stayed consistent in the grind. You started leveraging other people's experience, and asking for help. And along that journey, you began to even give equity away to get the correct help in and the correct experience. It's a powerful story, and there's a common thread I see in all successful people, and it's that right there. They stay consistent and they leverage other people's skill sets, and they seem to just surpass everybody else that says, "I'm a one-man show. I can do it all my own," and they never even get to that point. Those type of guys, because it's impossible.
Yeah.
You're right. Persistence is the single most powerful muscle that you can have as an entrepreneur. Never settle, never, always stay hungry. That's I live in that energy so much that I don't even realize that I'm doing it anymore. I was walking through, we built a beautiful 16,000 square foot facility for our utility contracting company last fall. Beautiful offices, just
Incredible.
nice building that will be here for 100 years. And it's a steel building. And I was walking down my hallway last week to the coffee station, and I was thinking about how I started. And the building that we started out in was like 600 square feet. And we only had that building because somebody owed my business partner money, and he gave us the building rent free, right? So we can't get any of our equipment inside. It's literally a building to keep our supplies dry, chainsaws safe at night so they don't get stolen. And I remember laying outside of that building under a wood chipper on a piece of cardboard in the snow, changing oil, right? And it's like, I knew that was temporary. I knew that I was going to grow myself and have a bigger building, and that's what carried me through the really tough times. Anybody who's ever been to Indiana in February, it's the most miserable month of the year. And I couldn't. My perception at that time was I couldn't afford a mechanic to change my oil, and I probably, looking back, I know that was a bad move, but at that time, I was doing the best that I do to do, right? And it's a journey, and it really truly is amazing when you go all in. It really is.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much for coming on. That was great today. I mean, we hit all the last things. Last thing I want to ask about is you bought a truck business, because Chris and I are on the buying business thing. How did you do that? And then I know that you did that because you had the pain point of not getting your trucks fixed, right?
Yes, we actually didn't. I didn't buy it. I actually did another startup.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a massive fleet of vehicles, obviously, and we had a big issues with getting our fleet serviced. So we found a great mechanic, found a young guy, Austin, super hungry, super committed, and we made him a partner again. Made him a partner, and we have a fleet service business that takes care of our own fleet. And because of that, our efficiencies have went up. Our equipment runs better, and but
Controlling that supply
probably
chain.
about 50% of the revenues from us, and then maybe not quite. And then we just started onboarding other businesses, local businesses, that had fleets, and we'll probably do $1 million year one in revenue with that.
Awesome.
You took a big expense and now you're going to turn it into a cash flowing asset. I love it.
Yeah,
Mike, it was
for
awesome
sure.
having you on.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Mike.
Hey, Mike, when we're doing a mastermind, we haven't officially announced, but we're doing it down in Florida last week in January. Chris and I would love if you had a chance, if you could come down.
Awesome.
Talk, tell your story, and we're going to be on a yacht doing a steakhouse dinner. We'd love to have you down there.
Awesome. I'll check my schedule, but that's usually the good time to go to Florida. Is at the end of January.
It sounds brutal in Indiana. You might want to come down there with your wife and your little kid and your little. We all have 3 little ones. They all can hang out in this awesome house, play around while we're doing our stuff.
Awesome.
All
That's
right.
it, man. All right, blue collar. You guys
All
take
right.
care.
Talk to you. See you next week. All right. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Mike, that was awesome.